It is day 10 of my journey towards writing my first fantasy novel, and it is late. So, what did I do tonight? I actually wrote down a few of the main elements of my story. So, I've been writing a little bit all over the place over these past 9 days. And I think I have a lot of very cool elements, but I've also revised a lot of the ideas that I had initially. And it kind of feels like I've been telling this story for months now, and it's kind of weird to realize that actually it's only been a few days. However, I do think that before I proceed, I need to bring some method to the madness and start categorizing the various characters that I came up with, the various story beats that I've already imagined, and also write down a little bit more about the setting. Because ultimately, um, the more I understand what the story is about and where it takes place and who the characters are, the more I'm familiar with the world in which the story takes place, the easier it will become to write a believable story in that world. So here's what I wrote. First of all, I wrote down a very short statement about the plot. And here it is. Timothy's life as a novice librarian in a monastery is turned upside down when the country's most sacred book is stolen by a mysterious sect of dangerous mages. Together with a young nun, Elara, and a shape-shifting angel, Ethan, he goes on a quest to recover the book, only to discover that the mages pose a much bigger threat than he could have ever imagined. Pum pum pum. So then I wrote down some of the target genres that this book needs to somehow appeal to. And this is, for me, important. It's not just a story that can be about anything. The way in which I find books is by looking for certain genres that I know I love, and so I look for more books in those same genres. Now, obviously, even the premise of the story already contains a number of those classic genres, but I thought about it a little bit more, and also about some of the genres that I really like to read myself, so that I'm familiar with them. So here are a couple of the genres that I think are part of the story, and I'll explain why. So first of all, obviously, this is fantasy, right? This is not historical Middle Ages. This is a parallel world Middle Ages. This is magical Ireland. It's an adventure, because there's a quest. That there's a lot of action. There's a lot that's going on. This is not a character story. That there obviously is going to be character development, but I want this to have a lot of adventure. It's exploration of this magical world. Also, because this is the first book, so obviously you want to give people the idea that there is so much to explore. It's going to be exciting. Then there is also the genre of it's a mystery. And the mystery is, what is the deal with this book? Not just how does it work and what's the magic, but why do these evil mages want that book? They have a secret plan, and nobody knows what that is. And there's more mystery as well. What about those scribes, and what about even like characters like Alara and Ethan? They have their mysterious side. So there are going to be a lot of mysteries that need to be discovered. Then it also, I think, one of the subgenres is this definitely has a religious and spiritual um, dimension. It's not going to be a main category, but obviously, since I'm a Catholic writer, and since the story takes place in the context of monasteries and religious Ireland, there are going to be lots of elements from mainly the Catholic tradition. But I don't want this book to have a religious message per se. This is not a religious book. It's a fantasy book. It's meant to entertain, to educate, and to inspire. But I don't write this because I want to make a religious point. Um, I think for now, the genre is also, or one of the other genres is this feels to me like young adult. But it's also probably because that's what I read a lot. So I'm familiar with that style. And I hesitate to call it like I don't know, a full, like a book for adults. I don't know. I somehow feel that that may be too ambitious. I don't know. Or maybe it's just me telling myself that. It's not a children's book. That's a decision that I took at an early stage. Even though I always dreamt of being a children's book writer, this is not a book for children. But young adult, maybe. And then finally, one genre that I love is magical schools. It's Hogwarts, or I'm reading this other book about this, similar. Like, I love a story um, about students learning something and discovering abilities that they didn't know they had, etc. So the whole like school and having teachers and having mentors, Jedi Academy stuff, the Starfleet Academy stories. Those are stories that I love, and so I want this also to have at least partially a bit of an academy school type of story. Then I wrote a list of tropes. And this is a bit hard because I realized that almost my entire story consists of tropes. And every writer wants to be original, but on the other hand, tropes are tropes for a good reason. They work. And so I think it's important for me to realize that I am using a lot of tropes so that I can make variations on them and maybe abandon some of these tropes. But here are some that I've identified so far. So there is a bit of the chosen one trope. Timothy starts off like a bit like Luke Skywalker. He is clumsy. He is socially awkward. Um, he's got a lot of goodwill, but everybody makes fun of him. But yet he is the hero of the story ultimately, and he will grow stronger and become what he desires to be, and that is one of those magical scribes, one of those magical storytellers. Then another trope is it's a bit of a bunch of misfits. Because you've got a really unlikely team of friends. You've got Timothy, very awkward, clumsy. You've got Alara, a very strong-willed young woman with lots of ambition. Almost the opposite of Timothy. And then you've got Ethan, who is kind of this strange shape-shifting angel, so is it even a different being. And he has got a hidden past, and he's a bit of a comic relief as well. He's a bit like the Data of my story. So anyway, but the fact that these three become friends is a trope. So you could say a bunch of misfits, but also a power trio. Then other trope, magical school. As I said, the monastery is the place where these kids will learn new powers, new magical powers. There is the trope of it's a quest. They need to recover the book that gets stolen. And of course, that quest is going to be a very difficult one with lots of obstacles and challenges and self-discovery. There's also the trope of a hidden legacy or a hidden past. Not for Timothy. Timothy is kind of what you see is what you get. But Alara and Ethan both have a secret past that is revealed during the adventure. There is a very clear redemption arc. The main antagonist, and I have a name for the main antagonist. He's called Furtivus or Furtivus, which is Latin for thief, because that's kind of what he is. And I'll explain later why. So Furtivus is a young apprentice of the evil mages. So he too is still learning and still trying to reach his goals in life. He's got a lot of things that he wants. And he thinks that the evil mages can give it to him. But he will ultimately achieve redemption. And then Ethan, the angel, also is looking to redeem himself, and more he is in conflict with what he truly is, a fallen angel who works for the evil mages. There is an ancient prophecy as well, but I'm not exactly sure how that is, but I think I need to come up with some kind of ancient prophecy about the book. There needs to be a little bit more of a mythological side to that book, but don't know exactly what, but we'll figure it out. And then there is a dark secret, and that is with the evil mages. The evil mages have a plan. We don't know what that is. Actually, I really don't know what that is, but they need that book. They need the powers of the book to execute that evil plan. And so that's the dark secret. And then you've got the trope of the reluctant hero. Timothy is not hero material, and yet that's what he is called to become. And I really, I want this to be a vocation story to a certain extent, and because that's what I know. It's like the story of my life. It's like I was never cut out to be a priest. I didn't have the qualities that a lot of people associated with priests. And yet here I am. And so I feel comfortable writing a similar story for Tim where he will find his vocation, but it's going to be a long journey. And then also the final trope that I've identified so far is that of an evil mentor. So there's going to be a good mentor. There's going to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi type of person. That's one of the scribes. And then you have Ethan, the angel, who also becomes, he pretends to be kind of the protector of their friends, but he's secretly aligned with the mages. And so he is going to betray them, but he also seeks redemption after that because he learns what it means to be friends and to be honest, etc. So those are my tropes. Those are my my notes for today. It's not much, but at least it's a beginning. And then tomorrow I will continue to write characters, both the characters that I already came up with, but also I want to create some more side characters that will give a bit more texture to the story. So that's my update for today. Thanks again for watching, and I'm always open for feedback. So talk to you later.